It's Monday, September 29th. We're going to take a look at what's happening in the short range, also some of the long range ideas that the models are spitting out. It's going to get windy along the coast as two hurricanes in the Atlantic impact this region with high surf and maybe coastal flooding. And the heat continues from the central U.S. into parts of the east, while out west, two big rainmakers are moving in as we start the work week. Let's start with the big picture here across North America. Two hurricanes out in the Atlantic, Umberto and Imelda. Imelda moving north, expected to curve sharply off to the north and east. High pressure building into the northeastern United States. This air is originating from Canada this week, so it'll be a little bit cooler here than what we're going to see across the upper Midwest, into the Midwest, also into the southern plains, into the south. Temperatures across this region, I think, are going to stay above average for several days, maybe even into next week. These two hurricanes moving away, I'll tell you what, though, all along the eastern coast, these hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin, we're going to see some big surf as we move through this week, maybe even into the weekend. That may linger. High pressure building into the northeast. Across the west, we stay unsettled. We've got two chances of rain. We've got one moving in as we move through the day today, another one as we move into Wednesday. That's also going to bring some mountain snow into parts of British Columbia. Cooler temperatures across this part of western Canada and the northwest. The warmth continues across the central states. High pressure sticks around as we head toward Friday for the east coast. Maybe a little bit cooler, some cooler air trying to at least work down into parts of the northeast, maybe even parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, down into Kentucky and Tennessee. But once you get, I think, west of here, a lot of southerly flow, really warm temperatures, not a lot of changes. Some folks were chiming in. I saw in the video yesterday, the winter weather outlook, which if you've missed that, those come out every week. We talk about some of the things that are happening over here in the high latitudes where it's already turning cold and we've got snow, and that may impact our winter. But they were talking about how it's anything but winter-like in Chicago, where it's been in the mid-80s and or hotter. It's going to stay that way, unfortunately. Winter is on the way, so if you want to follow along our winter outlook, subscribe. Let's continue this out in time. There is going to be a little bit of snow trying to show up as we head into this weekend, into the first part of next week, across parts of the Rockies, but otherwise, not a lot of huge changes. We do start to see things flip up a little bit. First, it happens across the Arctic. Some colder air breaks off. A lot of the models are showing this. I've been talking about some snow up here in the parts of the northern Rockies, sometimes between the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Somewhere in that time frame, you start to break off some colder air, and that moves south. This is the overnight European. Again, it's an operational run, but a lot of them have been showing this. This would put high temperatures in the 50s and 40s into places like Chicago, Milwaukee, back to Minneapolis. Some cooler air, I think, could be on the way. It's going to take a little while. Some snow falling this week across Alaska. Otherwise, we've got snow into the mountain ranges of British Columbia. I'm going to push this out in time because you can kind of see how the models are picking up on some colder conditions across this part of Canada. A closer look at the rain as we head into Monday. Easterly flow into North Carolina, South Carolina. We actually have a stalled front hanging out somewhere like this. We're going to get some lifting motion with that. That's going to create showers. The hurricane is going to stay way to your south. However, along the coast, those impacts will be felt in the form of high surf, maybe some coastal flooding again. And look at this, two hurricanes out here. You can imagine the waves that are going to be created along the coast. And then as we head into Wednesday, also into Thursday, relatively dry here across the Carolinas as the wind flow changes up. Northeast flow continues, but the moisture moves away. A bit breezy right here along the coast too today. Winds could gust 30 to 40, but your hurricanes fortunately staying out to sea. Quite gusty too, all the way into the northeast, right along the coast. Winds could gust 20, 35, maybe even up to 40 in some spots, but otherwise, most of the tropical threat staying at sea. Here's a look at your temperatures as we head through this afternoon. 80s, even 90s showing up here in some of the model guidance across parts of Indiana and Illinois. Would not shock me. It's that time of year when you're seeing those cornfields get bare, and it can really heat up with some sun into the afternoon and evening hours. As we move into Tuesday, also into Wednesday, it stays warm across this region. Cooler conditions trying to work in from the northeast. You can kind of see how that is moving here into parts of northeast Georgia, South Carolina, even into parts of Indiana and Ohio and Michigan. We're back into the 70s versus these areas, which I showed you were close to 90, so a little bit cooler, not dramatically. That heat tries to build back, though, as we head into the weekend out ahead of a front which drops to the south. Also, that southerly flow picks up across this region and into the northeast. Relatively cool, but we're back warm again as we head toward the weekend, up into the 70s, close to 80 across Maine. Here's a look at the Central Plains. Showers across West Texas today. Those showers across Arizona and also Utah have lifted to the north and east, so the best chance of rain today will be across New Mexico, also into parts of Colorado. Tomorrow, we'll keep the chance of showers around across the mountains. This time, it's lifting a little bit further to the north into parts of Wyoming. Here's a look at your temperatures today. Warm all the way to the Canadian border. 80s into Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. We're also warm across the southern plains, too. And Texas, really hot into the 90s. Across the west, rain picking up across the northwest. That rain will move into Northern California as well as we head into the afternoon, also into the evening. And some of that spreads east into parts of Idaho, Montana. And further to the east, it starts to fall apart. This system does anyway. Another one moving into the Pacific Northwest as we head into Tuesday. So super active across this region. And more showers will hang around as we head into Wednesday. As far south as Northern California, maybe even into parts of the Sierra, with some rain into this region. You'd have to get pretty high up to get some snow, but it's started to become that time of year where mountain snow starts to pick up across the west. Here's a look at your temperatures today. Cooler with the clouds and the rain. Also across New Mexico and Colorado, we've got quite a bit of cloud cover around into the afternoon. And here's a look at your temperatures as we head into Tuesday.